Hi teachers, this is a recap of yesterday's PD from September 22, 2022. Let's talk for a second about tech integration, where we are and where we want to go with me and my work from home sidekick here. So my goals in this PD were threefold. I wanted to listen. We did a gripe jam, which I'll explain in a second, and it's an opportunity for teachers to share some of their gripes. What's going on? What's frustrating? I want to give you one or two tools that you can use now, and I want to take some action. I want to make a plan for how I will work to help you moving forward. So a gripe jam. What's a gripe jam? I give you scenarios and you write down as many gripes or challenges as you can think of for each scenario. Just one gripe per sticky note. I had sticky notes for everybody. And then later on, we're going to sort those challenges based on how frustrating they are to you and how many people they affect. The thing about the gripe jam is you can't audit your challenges. No gripes are too big, too small. Like, write down whatever comes to your mind. So let's run through a few scenarios for your gripes. The first one, you just got to school. What's your gripe? We're thinking technology mostly, but also other things. What are your gripes? It's your planning time. What's your gripe? Your students are logging into an iPad or a Chromebook. What is your gripe? You need a new app on the iPad, or you're trying a new website. What's your gripe? You're teaching a whole group lesson. Do you have a gripe? You're teaching a small group lesson, or maybe your parapro is teaching a small group lesson. What's your gripe? You're grading assignments. What's your gripe? You need to present something to the whole class. What's your gripe? Your students need to type an essay. What's your gripe? You're giving a test. Do you have a gripe? School just ended. But what's your gripe? You're about to begin a staff meeting. What's your gripe? Sunday night. What's your gripe? So I'm going to go back one screen here, and this is a chance for you to pause this and jot down any gripes that you might have so you can share them with myself or with Rachel Reed. You've had a chance to write some gripes. Let's move on. So now we're going to rank those gripes. And this is what we did yesterday with a whole group. So however many or as few gripes you have, you put them in a line according to how frustrating they are. So more frustrating goes on one end, less frustrating on the other end. Take a moment to do that. All right, now that you've ranked them from most frustrating to least frustrating, now we're going to raise them up if they affect more people or lower them if they affect fewer people. So this now gives us a map kind of in quadrants of how frustrating things are and how many people they affect versus the least frustrating and the ones that affect the least amount of people. So now you've isolated the problems, the gripes that are most frustrating to you and affect the most people. Let's circle those, and those are the ones that Rachel and I want to hear about first. Especially if it involves technology, I want to hear about it. Keep all your other gripes. You can tuck them in a drawer and circle back to them and follow up with the appropriate person. For now, we're just focusing on the technology. Speaking of technology, let's learn some things. When students are using tech, let's talk quality sources here for a couple minutes. Number one, mel.org. We really don't want to send students just to Google or to Wikipedia to research something. We want them in a safe space, number one, so that we know that they're not encountering random stuff on the internet. Number two, we want them looking at quality sources. MEL stands for Michigan E-Library. Maybe you've heard it used it before, but it gives us electronic resources, and that's where we start on that specific page. It's an age-appropriate database, or it has age-appropriate databases within it, which I'll model to you in a second, and it does integrate so nicely with Google Drive. You can save articles right straight to your drive. There's no copying and pasting from the web. It sends a nicely formatted version right straight into the student's drive or your drive if you choose to save the article. It also enables students to cite their sources. So let me pause this a minute, get to the right screen, and I will show you how this works. Here we are at the Michigan eLibrary. This is what the homepage looks like, and we're going to start at the eResources location. K-12 schools is the best place we can send students. If need be, they can go into the Academic Search Complete, but that is a pretty big database and they're going to have a hard time navigating that. So let's start with K-12 schools. We get 2 groups and you can pick the right one for you. I'm going to pick the teen group. And one of my all-time favorites here is Britannica School. It's an online encyclopedia. If you were to go to Britannica.com, you wouldn't be able to get in without a username and password. But when you access it through mel.org, you do get access because the state of Michigan provides that to us simply by being residents of Michigan. It's amazing. I'm going to go into elementary school here. And we've got different categories that we can explore right here on the home page. Articles, biographies, even images and videos. We're going to utilize the search tool right now, for example. And let's say you want your students to learn about the Constitution. Type it into the little yellow search bar up here, and we get some articles as well as images. I'm going to click on the first one since that's what students usually do. And here we get a summary, the history, the preamble, federal system. Explore this too. What I want to point out to you right here is this button, the Drive button. We click Drive, and the students or you will be prompted to choose your email address and then to allow Google, there probably will be another pop-up, to allow Google and Britannica to communicate with each other. So then, if you want to save this article to Google Drive, you just click the Drive button and voila, it sends it over there. Content saved successfully to Google Drive. So let's go to my Drive and see what happened. Britannica created a folder. Look right here, immediately in the suggested, there's the United States Constitution article. Britannica makes that for us, and it'll do that for the students too. So when utilizing mel.org and you allow mel.org, any of those databases, to communicate with your Drive, you can send articles right straight there. They're nicely formatted for you and for your students to use later. Just like that. We can come back over here and I want to show you one other tool that nearly all of the databases have, and that is the Cite button. It's usually a circle or a square with a check mark in it, and if you hover your mouse over, it'll tell you what the button does. When you click Cite, you can select what type of citation, and here in a K-8 school, we use MLA universally. The students can copy and paste this onto the bottom of their document or a specific works cited page, and now they've cited their source, and what a fabulous skill for them to have. That is mel.org. There's a lot more to it, and I'm happy to go in more detail with you one-on-one if you want that. We're back over here on the presentation, and now I want to talk images for us. Again, we don't want to send students just to get an image from google.com for a number of reasons. Most importantly, we don't know where that photo came from and if we have permission to use it. And moving forward, we always want students to know how to get permission to use something, how to cite their source, or the easiest option, to find something they don't need to cite. So, Photos for Class is a fabulous website for real generic, safe pictures that students can use in class. They are all free to use, share, and modify already. There's also a Creative Commons setting for Google image search to really narrow down the results, so it's a much shorter list of options, and all those options will be free for the student to use, share, and modify. Let me demonstrate both of those for you in just a minute. Here we are at a regular Google window, and the students are going to look for an image. Let's start with Photos for Class. photosforclass.com. This is what their home screen looks like. And like I said, we need to use just very generic search terms. I'm going to use Holocaust as an example. When we search for the Holocaust on a regular Google search, we might find some images that we really don't want students to see. With a search like this, they're going to be very generic images that students can use in a presentation or on a poster. They just simply to download it. Or believe they can two-finger click on it and copy the image and then paste it where they want to. If we were to search 13 original colonies, which is a little more specific, we're not going to find as much on here. In fact, we may not find anything. So the searches on this website do need to be very generic. Constitution is another very generic one we can practice with, and we're going to get images related to the U.S. Constitution with a few other ones that might not seem to fit. We're going to pop open a new tab here and do just a Google image search for ancient Greece. The students type it into search, they click on images, and look at all these images to choose from. We don't know if we have the right to use them, but there's a simple way to narrow it. We click Tools, Use Rights, Creative Commons. All of a sudden, our list gets very short, and these are all the images that students can use for free without citing their source. This is a great, great skill to teach the students. So to repeat that, we go from all results to images, over to tools, usage rights, Creative Commons. That's the best and safest way for students to find images. Another one that I know Sarah Schrader has talked about in the past is sweetsearch.com. That homepage looks like this, and students can enter their search terms and narrow it to news or history. There's also a spot over here for biographies. So one more tool for students to use other than Google to make sure that they're finding quality sources and have permission to use those sources. We are in the process of onboarding with a program called Clever SSO. It's a single sign-on, and what it does is our school has Fax or RenWeb where we keep all of our student information, and we send that to Clever. Clever then syncs with all the apps and websites that we use with our students, and they don't have to keep track of additional usernames and passwords, and neither do you. I will go into more detail on this once we are all ready to launch this, but I wanted to let you know we are working on a simpler way for you to use apps and programs, websites with your students. In summary, you guys were in this together. We grow through discomfort. We learn from each other, and we're going to build on the solid foundation of Christ that is at the head of our school, as well as the solid foundation of quality educators, and that's you guys. So, my deliverables today, my goal is to listen to your gripes, give you something useful, and make an action plan based on your gripes. And I am excited to do that moving forward. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.